Available for iOS and Android.
Now at 6, some potential ballot confusion in Goodman, Missouri ahead of the April election. Plus, some community leaders at Easter Seals Midwest raise funds to support area veterans. And the Carthage Public Library hosts a movie day for kids looking for something to do during spring break.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
There's some confusion surrounding the upcoming election in Goodman, Missouri. 2 candidates are running against each other in 2 different positions. This is KOIM News at 6. I'm Dow Quick. KOIM Samantha Walker has more on how the situation has raised some questions on what's allowed.
For voters in Goodman, Missouri, there might be some confusion when they look at their April ballot. J.R. Fisher and Clay Sexton are running against each other for 2 different positions. Both candidates are running for Goodman mayor and for South Ward alderman. The McDonald County Clerk's office is pointing voters to a Missouri statute that disallows a party candidate from running for more than one office. It's allowed on this ballot because it's a nonpartisan municipal election. We called the Missouri Secretary of State's office to see if they could clarify what's allowed in this scenario. They said the statute the county clerk's office cites is meant to address state and presidential offices, not necessarily ones at the local level. They said the election in Goodman is a gray area. The Secretary of State's office adds it's too late for any ballot changes because absentee ballots have already gone out. If the same candidate wins both positions, the state office says typically the position that candidate didn't want would be left open as a vacancy. They say an appointment to that position could be made, and it wouldn't necessarily have to be the runner-up. How that position is filled is left up to town or county rules. Reporting in Goodman, Samantha Walker, KOIM News.
You can find the full text for the Missouri statute the McDonald County Clerk's office is referencing on our website. You see it there, koimnewsnow.com. You can always find this story and more election news by scanning the code right there. We also have resources for deadlines. While Missouri and Oklahoma deadlines to register have passed for the April 8th election, Kansas residents have through tomorrow to register to vote. KOIMnewsnow.com has resources for all of the 4-state areas, such as polling places and election dates. Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Doug Heddy now for a first look at the weather.
Well, it turned out to be a beautiful Monday for us today. Much warmer than what we saw over the weekend. Also, much windier across the region. It doesn't quite rival what we had last Friday, but still, the winds are up there, still sitting into the mid-70s, 74 in Pittsburgh. Also in Joplin, will slide back through the 60s, only bottom out at about 59 or 60 degrees. So if you're getting out this evening, still great, mid to upper 70s, even after 6 p.m. Also the winds, they're going to stay strong tonight. Sustained winds near 20. And of course, we've been getting gusts near 40 through the afternoon. Fire danger still in effect once again as we go into Tuesday, mainly due to our humidity being on the low side. And those gusts stick around 35, 40, 43-ish once again on Tuesday, even on Wednesday. And we're going to cool down a little bit. We'll be talking about that here in a bit.
See you soon. A group of adults with disabilities presented a check to some Southwest Missouri veterans today. They have been collecting donations for a week and managed to raise more than $1,800. They're associated with Easter Seals Midwest in Joplin. The nonprofit says the occasion shows anyone can be a community leader.
We find opportunities throughout our week to give back to our community. And the veterans are really important to our country. And so those we support wanted to give back to them in some fashion. So we reached out to Walmart and they let us come in and set up to collect donations.
Easter Seals has been helping people with disabilities and their families for more than 100 years. The 2024 Officer of the Year is a member of the Parsons, Kansas Police Department, receiving the honor for a second time. Sergeant Detective Bryce Dickens received the honor from the Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 704. Sergeant Dickens played a pivotal role, they say, in a multi-agency effort targeting the illegal distribution of narcotics in southeast Kansas. The VFW Post says by honoring Sergeant Dickens for a second time, it acknowledges the lasting impact he's had on crime reduction, community engagement, and investigative success. The Carthage Public Library invited kids of all ages out for, well, popcorn, but a movie today. It was part of the spring break at the library program. In addition to the movie, kids could also enjoy that free popcorn, candy, and drinks. The library also encouraged moviegoers to dress in costume.
Because there's such a need. Our children need something to do that is somewhat educational. You know, we want them to use the library, but we want them to know the library offers so much more than just coming in to check out books.
Oh yeah, a lot more in addition to books. The library has a full week of events planned to celebrate spring break. On Tech Tuesday, the kids can come out and play with some robots. Wednesday features an all-ages story time, and on Thursday, the library is planning a book tasting featuring author Roland Smith. I don't know what that's all about. Find out. Pitch Day women's basketball team looks to claim an NCAA title. John Dales joins us live from the tournament with a look at the Gorillas' chances and their next opponent. That's coming up later in sports. But up first, the Heritage Trail in Joplin unveils 2 new additions to its legacy project.
Got 3 massive used car inventories.
The best used car selection and savings are only at Roper Honda.
The city of Joplin unveiled some new additions to its legacy project called the Heritage Trail. KOAM's Melissa Alexis has more about these 2 new storyboards.
It's important, I think, for every community to know and preserve its history.
Michael Apfel is John C. Cox's great-great-grandson, and he says it's a huge honor.
It's history, and to do this for John C. Cox and his family and was just, wow, I could have knocked us over with a feather. I mean, it really means a lot.
One of the storyboards the city of Joplin has added to their legacy projects tells the story of John C. Cox, who the director of the Joplin Convention and Visitors Bureau says was one of the earliest settlers of Joplin.
Very excited about it. Like I said, we had an old metal marker here is all it was, and this actually tells the story of John C. Cox and why he came here and what he did, the role he played in Joplin's history. He's basically the father of Joplin.
Very, very generous, loved the people here, the community, and was just a really good guy.
Some of John C. Cox's family members were in attendance to see the unveiling of the storyboard, which is placed closely to the very house that he lived in.
Original structure, and then in the 40s, the backside of the house was added on.
The second storyboard added is called The Unrest. The director of the Joplin Convention and Visitors Bureau says it's about the tensions that existed between mining camps.
There was a time in what was called the Kansas City Bottoms, by where the Union Depot is, was a very rough area, and months and months of unrest happened in the Joplin here.
They both encourage people to read the storyboards to learn more about Joplin history.
You have to know how things started.
Reporting in Joplin, Melissa Alexis, KOAM News.
Now these are the 8th and 9th Heritage Trail markers added to the project. A little later, fires tear through 12 counties in Oklahoma. We're going to have the story of how one home survived.
Plus, our temperatures stay warm, but also very windy. We're going to look at that coming up.
Attention.
By the Center for the Arts.
Well, of course, for us today, much warmer across the region, also windy, but it turned out to be a great Monday. It looks still good out there right now. Great shot of our Cornell Arts and Entertainment Complex tower cam. We are looking downtown Joplin, off toward the north and to the east. Temperature is still pretty good if you want to get outside this evening, still near 80. Independence, Nowata over toward Miami. Everybody else kind of mid to upper 70s, and we're not going to drop off too much tonight. We'll only slide back in near 60 degrees. Pretty much clear skies. We have some thin, kind of high level clouds pushing through, but not a big deal. Fire weather warning in effect. Once again, red flag warning, even on Tuesday afternoon. This is due to the high wind gusts and the humidity, which is a little bit on the lower side. Look at the winds right now. Sustained right around 20 miles per hour, but we've had gusts higher than that at times, 35, 40. upwards to about 45, and that's what we're going to see once again as we go into your Tuesday. Those strong southerly winds, gusts near 40 for most of us. Winds stay strong tomorrow night. Even on Wednesday, they switch out of the west eventually to the northwest, which will usher in cooler air, but it means the next 2 days, very windy once again. And the fire danger, because our humidity's been low, and even though it comes up a little bit Tuesday afternoon, still humidity kind of sitting right around 30%, which is definitely low enough. All right, so we have some high little clouds streaming through, nothing underneath the clouds. The beginnings of our next storm system building out across the western third of the country. And this system, another strong system, it's limited in moisture, but it's a strong upper level low, which is why we're getting the winds. But there's not much moisture, so it's almost as strong as last Friday, but it's not going to produce the severe weather, at least this system. It pushes by on Wednesday. We get another weak little wave that drops in on Friday. Then another stronger system with a strong upper level low kicks out on late Saturday and Sunday, giving us chances for showers, even some thunderstorms. All right, let's go through next 72 hours. By morning, mid and upper level clouds, 58 to 60. So a good start. Partly to mostly cloudy skies tomorrow, but it's going to be those thin clouds. Warm, windy. We get into the 70s by noon. I think most of us 78, 79, 80 degrees for afternoon highs on Tuesday. Clouds kind of in and out Tuesday night. We have a dry line. You can see the winds kind of shift out here. As that pushes through, we can't rule out an isolated shower or a quick little thunderstorm, but it doesn't look like it's going to be a big deal. We start Wednesday into the upper 50s, but the backside of this system kicks in. So we get the clouds and we get hit and miss light showers. Wednesday afternoon into the evening hours, we can't rule out a random flake mixes in, but again, not a big deal. 61 to start, 71 by noon. High temp on your Tuesday up to 79 degrees. 57 Wednesday in the morning and dropping. 56 on Thursday, but the 60s return Friday with a few showers. 60s again over the weekend, and again we could get some thunderstorms moving in as we go into Sunday morning.
Looking like spring.
It is. In fact, spring's officially here in just a few days.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, and we need the rain.
Yep.
Thanks, Doug. Needed for a lot of reasons. Dust, fire, and high winds led to 12 Oklahoma counties declaring a state of emergency. The largest fire took place in Love County. That was Friday night. But what emergency crews found at the center of the fire was a home untouched. Austin Hedscoff has the remarkable story.
Fire is a very strange animal. Makes a lot of noise.
On Friday, Love County faced 6 different fires. Here in Falconhead, the fire was so bad they had to put out an all-page and get help from every fire department in the county. And to make matters worse, they needed that help quickly because the fire was moving in that direction, towards Turner Public Schools. And sitting between the blaze and the school was Mary Ann Webb's house.
I was looking out the kitchen window, and all of a sudden the bush that stands in front of our kitchen window was ablaze.
So she ran outside to try and put out the bush fire, but realized she had even bigger problems.
So I run back in the house and I tell my husband, I said, there's a blaze all the way around this property.
Surrounded by flames, she called for backup, and then they called for backup too. The blaze started around 4:30 in the afternoon, and crews were still fighting well after dark.
They were very aggressive in what they were doing. I was very impressed.
The fire knocked out Webb's electricity and destroyed the gazebo behind her house.
When we walked out, it was just a blaze. You couldn't even tell really what the gazebo was.
But it missed her art studio, and her home of 30 years is okay too.
I feel like this is really God's blessing that it didn't get our house.
Webb said she's grateful for the first responders and wants everyone to realize the dangers of fire.
Again, Oklahoma and much of the four-state area remains under a fire threat. The continued threat comes after 4 people were killed and more than 140 were injured in Oklahoma due to high winds and raging wildfires that ignited on Friday. Still ahead, the Pitt State women's basketball team is 1 win away from cutting down the nets. John Dales is going to join us live from John Lance Arena with a preview of tonight's game. That's up next in sports.
Imagine your possibilities. Hey, and welcome into sports, and welcome to John Lance Arena tonight. On the court behind me, one team will be cutting down the nets. Pittsburgh State is hoping that it's them. The Gorillas have had home court advantage for their first 3 NCAA tournament games as host and the number 1 seed in their region. And a win tonight would give Pittsburgh State a regional championship and a spot in the Elite 8, both of which have not been done since 2016. Well, let's take a look at how Pittsburgh State got here. On Friday night, the Gorillas won their first round game against Harding, who beat them in the first round last year. They were down by 2 points at halftime of that contest, but they got Harding's star center into foul trouble and pulled away in the third quarter. Pittsburgh State went on to win that one 87-75, and Corinna Gerber led the way with 29 points and 11 rebounds. Then Saturday night was essentially the game of the year. Pittsburgh State taking on the defending national champion Minnesota State Mankato. And once again, the Gorillas trail at halftime. They were down by 13 in this contest. They also lost Macy Mays to an injury early in the game, but Pittsburgh State would rally and tied the game early in the fourth quarter, then held on down the stretch, 94-91, the final score in that game. Gerber again with a double-double, 27 points and 10 rebounds in that one. And that was a comeback victory that led the Gorillas head coach nearly speechless.
I don't know that I can say anything to justify or to put words on that display of competitive nature. I mean, I don't even have the words, but and I can't. But if you were here, I think you saw it as just a true testimony of this group's fearlessness.
Well, that's how the Gorillas have gotten to this point, but now let's talk a little bit about their opponent tonight. That's the 7th seed in the region, Southwest Minnesota State. Well, the Mustangs, they started with a 77-64 victory on Friday night against Concordia St. Paul. That was their first NCAA tournament win since, get this, 2002. And great defense led the way for SMSU in that contest. They held the Golden Bears to 36% shooting from the field. That was their 4th lowest mark of the season. And Audrey Swanson and Bree Stoltzman, pay attention to those two names. They score 43 points and pull down 18 rebounds for the Mustangs in that contest. Then on Saturday, the Mustangs once again score 77 points exactly. They get the win, this time over Fort Hays State, who is the MIAA tournament runner-up behind the Gorillas. And great defense once again in this one by the Mustangs. They held Hayes to 38% shooting as a team. Then Stoltzman and Swanson, each of them post double-doubles. They combined for 44 points and 23 rebounds. Well, tonight's game between the Gorillas and the Mustangs gets tipped off at 7. We're going to have highlights later tonight. But for now, that's it for sports. We're back after this.
It's Food for Less history.
A 4-state hero.
Here's a look at what's coming up on KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14 tonight. Yates Center City Council holds a special meeting to discuss forward action after a fire destroyed a community nursing home on Friday. Plus, detecting signs of scoliosis in children, what parents need to know. And the U.S. Postal Service signs a deal with Doge. Those stories, a lot more, of course, it's coming up tonight. KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. At least in one more day of really unseasonably warm temps, Doug.
Temps near 80 once again, but the winds are going to be gusting near 40 miles per hour and staying strong on Wednesday as we drop back into the 40s Wednesday afternoon. So Wednesday is going to be quite a bit cooler, and then right back to the 60s over the weekend.
In the meantime, the fire hazards remain. People need to be careful.
They do.
Thanks for joining us. We're going to see you right back here for KOAM News at 10. Let's make it a great evening.